There we go. We're live. Chris
Yeah.
Midgette, welcome to the Ugly Dog podcast.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I know it's you and I have been talking off and on for what, 10-ish maybe years
A
or
long
so,
time.
something. I think you were still back
Long
in
time.
Carolina, so yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, for the first digital iteration of the Ugly Dog podcast, I
Yeah.
finally bit the bullet and realized that my time is finite and I cannot get all over the place to interview people in person, nor can they get to me all the time. So
Well, if you need something
here we
tested
are.
out or broken, I'm a good one for it. So
Yeah, why
good
not?
guinea pig.
That's perfect. So, man, like you said, it's been a wild, the I guess now, which is a like a bit old hat, is, the like meet your Instagram friends,
All right, right.
for sure. So I'm looking forward to diving into this and your story. Um, so remind me, are you born and raised in South Carolina?
No, I was a Navy brat, so I was actually born in
Okay,
California, but mostly raised in Virginia, and then
I
went to
gotcha.
South Carolina for school and stayed there a
Went
few
to
extra years, and then but mostly raised in Virginia.
I gotcha. Okay. It must have just been the Citadel connection for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, that's a strong connection there.
Yep, for sure. As a Clemson grad, I can
I didn't know you were
somewhat
Clemson.
identify.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
did my
if I had to
graduate
choose, I'd
degree.
take Clemson over USC. So I'll support
Thank
you
you.
there.
We can stay friends. With that would have this would have been a short podcast.
We're done.
Yeah. Yeah, I did my graduate degree at Clemson. So spent 2 years there. Yeah, this was before I got into bird dogs and
Right, right.
um, loved it. Absolutely loved Clemson. It's been wild. I was there when they had, for the college football fans, the history fans of college football. I was at Clemson when they still had Tommy Bowden, fired Tommy Bowden, and hired
Okay,
Dabo. So like I
gotcha.
remember what
Yep.
it was like before they won a couple national
Uh-huh.
championships. So,
Yeah,
um,
that was,
you know,
if I remember correctly, because I think I was in college when they hired Dabo. It wasn't um it wasn't well received from what I remember from some of the South Carolina guys that I went to school with.
mhm.
So yeah, it's crazy how things have turned out for him, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there a lot of it was. I mean, for one, it was like, well, Tommy Bowden was terrible, and he's just an assistant under Tommy. So why is this going to be any different? And um, his origin story as a coach was fascinating. Like he was like selling real estate or car insurance or
Right,
something
right.
in
Something
Alabama.
crazy,
He had
right?
gone to Alabama as a player and basically was living there, and then became like basically really a recruiter. He wasn't really even
Mm-hmm.
a coach,
Right.
and just had done so well recruiting, and somehow managed to
Found
sell
his
the
way.
AD to hire him to be a head coach. So it clearly where I will say, you mentioned then that rivalry for folks that don't know, South Carolina Clemson rivalry is arguably, I would say it's underrated in the national spotlight, but it is a pretty
I would agree.
vicious Southern football rivalry.
Yeah.
Um, had he not beat South Carolina in that interim span where they hired
Mm-hmm.
him after they fired Tommy, none of this would have happened. But he managed that year
Mm-hmm.
in a probably a 50-50 season to beat South Carolina, and
Yeah, if I'm
they
not
were off to the
mistaken,
races.
the Citadels played South Carolina twice in the last 30, 40 years, and we beat them both times. So
Oh, there we
South
go.
Carolina, yeah, so we got that
Perfect.
claim to fame.
Take
So,
that,
yeah.
Gamecocks. Interesting, ironic, like tie to the name, right? The one football or athletic program really with a game bird in their name in South Carolina. So I
Yeah,
can
no,
appreciate that.
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's something, right?
yeah. We got to give them a little feather in their cap. Why not? Um, so you started bird dogs with Boykins. Is that because you were living in South Carolina and it's a state dog?
No, well, I mean, it obviously helped out. My dad got his first Boykin, I always get this wrong. I want to say in 78 or 79.
Okay, so you
Um,
have a history of.
so yeah, dad got his first one right out of college. He actually, I think, wanted a lab from what I hear my parents tell a story, but my mom didn't want a tail, knocking everything off the tables and stuff like that. And my dad was in the Navy, so he was going to be gone for 6 to 9 months out of the year.
Hmm.
So he went to Citadel as well, and then his first station was Charleston. So obviously, since they lived in South Carolina, the Boykin, and they had only just made the breed standards in '77. So it's a very new breed, and it's still outside South Carolina at that point in time. Very, very, nobody knew about them, really. And yeah, so I was raised with them, and then when I graduated college, got my first one, Cooper, and then got Traveler 8 years ago, and up until I got Tour, that was all I ever knew. Obviously hunted with labs and Chessies growing up in Virginia and stuff like that, but always like the little swamp poodles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all right. So that's a good like quick overview. Like for folks that are unfamiliar with Boykins, can you give me a little bit more background, style, etc.?
Yeah, so they're one of the very few American breeds. As the story goes, there was a down in South Carolina. There was a brown dog that this gentleman found or saw when he was going to church. When he was leaving church, he saw, and this is in the early 1900s. I want to say 1912, I think, if I remember correctly. And he took the dog home, found out they liked to retrieve. He gave it to his friend, Mr. Whit Boykin, who at the time was trying to breed a smaller retriever for the swamps of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
The quote is, the dog that doesn't rock the boat. Because a lot of South Carolinian duck hunting is the wood duck swamps, and you're off a
Yeah.
kayak and stuff like that. So over the years, they developed the breed. I mean, it's got American Water Spaniel, Cocker, Chessie. It even has some pointer in there. Some Boykins will try to point, but in the standards, it's supposed to be an aggressive flusher. And yeah, so they right about in the early mid 70s, they kind of decided, all right, we need to make a standard. So they got the Boykin family, and then I don't remember how large the gene pool was originally of stud dogs and what they were going to make the registry out of. So it's a relatively newer breed. For those that don't know, it's a little bit, they're bigger than a cocker, smaller than a Springer,
Mm-hmm.
all brown. Their coat can be like almost straight. Like Cooper, he had a straighter coat, single coat, and then Traveler has a curly one, double coated.
Mm-hmm.
The males are about 40, big Boykin's about 45 pounds. Anything above that's a little bit outside the standards. Yeah, they're fun little dogs. They don't know what the original brown dog was. I think his name was Dumpy, and he was bred with Singo, if I remember
Classic
correctly.
Southern
Yeah.
name.
So, yeah, they just kind of mixed it. Yeah, it's one of the few American breeds. They're versatile in that you can hunt them with. I mean, I can go quail hunting, pheasant hunting, duck hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they don't point. And the breed has exploded in popularity in the last, I don't know, 15 years, for better or worse. I try to educate people as much as possible. It's they're not miniature labs. I've seen a lot of people that will get frustrated with them because they mature slower than a lab. I've seen
Mm.
guys that want to do, field hunt geese in New York or Pennsylvania, and I'm like, yeah, they can do it. It's just gonna take them a really long time to get that goose back in. So yeah, it's a cool breed. Again, I think a lot of guys want them to kind of replace their lab.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the type of duck hunt that you're doing, it might not fit the bill. But yeah, I don't know if you know Ryan Baumgartner. He's out, or used to live out in North Dakota. He had a Boykin. I remember talking to him. I said, how the hell did you find a Boykin? And he said he wanted something a little bigger than a cocker, but something that could still cut through the cattails and just kind of slide their way through them rather than trying to just push through
Push
them.
through 'em. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, they're like I said, I've had them all my life. I'll always have at least one. Very spaniel-ish, and they're ADHD, and they're maybe not as crackheaded-ish as a cocker, but very
Mm-hmm.
close to it. Just happy to be there, eager to please and stuff. So yeah, they're fun dogs.
That's
And
awesome.
they have a pretty cool history. I mean, I was like I said, just it was made from a mutt that they don't know, and then they kind of decided to make it to what it is now.
Yeah, like you said, they're one of those sort of true American breeds, where it's, and I think people forget that now, in the argument of pure breed dogs and all of those types of things. It is, I feel like we're in this period of like any mix and match is
Hmm.
very frowned upon, and maybe
Right,
it was
right.
then, but they didn't have the internet to
Hmm.
to amplify that sound. But really, you think about any of the versatile breeds, which is more my skill set, right? Like like your wire hairs, your short hairs, your wire-haired vizslas, all of those things were, a mud at some point, and
Right.
kind of
Right.
mixing and matching and weaving things together to get what somebody would lay a standard on. So
Right.
that's pretty sweet. Speaking of Ryan, before we move off of that topic,
Uh-oh.
I was thinking about him the other day. Hopefully he listens to this.
Oh, he
Because
will.
I feel like he moved. I feel like he moved to New Mexico or Arizona or whatever, and he just like disappeared. Like he went into like witness protection, or just
Yeah, I think he
finally joined the CIA. Like he just disappeared.
I think I mean I get videos of his Boykin Paco, who's basically in retirement now, just chilling in the pool down in Arizona every day. So I know
Hmm.
he is alive and
Okay.
functioning. Yeah, he doesn't really post a whole lot anymore. And he didn't make it up last year in North Dakota for the pheasant trip, but I think he might come up this year.
Okay.
He wanted us to go out to Arizona, but that's such a haul.
It's a
And
trek, man.
I don't mind driving, but man, that's that's a commitment on that one. So,
It is. Yeah.
um,
That's the biggest thing that has kept me from doing it. Is it's
yeah,
2 days of driving to get there.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So
But no, he's kicking. He's him and his Irish setter fits. So yeah, they're getting after it down there.
good. Well, I'm glad to hear that he's still chasing birds. Um. So what? I guess did you grow up mostly waterfowl hunting then, or
Mhm.
how did you get into bird hunting?
Yeah, Dad was a lifelong waterfowler,
Hmm.
and so kind of raised me on that. And I remember, I don't know, maybe I was 8 or 9 or 10, somewhere around there. We went quail hunting once that I can remember, uh, and didn't see anything. I mean, the quail numbers in Virginia, even back then, weren't great, and they're trying to make
Hmm.
a push to obviously help out now. But yeah, so most of my hunting was waterfowl, and then we did some preserve hunting here and there. But Dad wasn't huge in the upland world. His thing was, sitting in a duck blind, drink a cup of coffee in the same hunting jacket that he's had since 1976. So he's just, he shoots an old Spanish double barrel 10 gauge. That's his howitzer. But yeah, so that's what I was raised on. And then I really didn't get an upland until I guess about when I got Traveler. So I got Traveler, and um, most of our duck hunting in Virginia turned into either diver hunting on the Big Bay
Hmm.
or the Big River, and then going out to the bay and shoot sea ducks. And typically if you have 12 to 20 long lines of decoys and your droppers aren't low enough, you don't want a dog swimming over those, not to mention a little tiny Boykin in the bay. So I really just wanted another outlet to get out there with my dog. And
Hmm.
so that's what led me into upland hunting. And yeah, so it's I probably do 70% upland and 30% waterfowl now.
Hmm.
It's a lot
Especially
easier
living in
just
Michigan.
well, living in Michigan, that's a lot easier just to throw boots on and your gun and go rather than worry about boat and decoys and all that stuff. So, yeah, so I still duck hunt, and that's what I was raised on, and then upland came later.
Okay, gotcha. Did I guess you were living in South Carolina or North Carolina when you got Traveler?
So I was living actually in Virginia when I got Traveler, but my first Boykin Cooper I got in South Carolina, and we would find some quail in there, but back then I had no idea what the hell I was. Not that I know what I'm doing now, but I at least have a general idea of what to look for now versus back then when it was just rambling around. We did a lot of dove, but I don't consider that upland. I consider that waterfowl. So
Sure. Yeah.
there's that debate with some people, but I think they're waterfowl.
Yeah, I mean, migratory bird. Now, woodcock's a
Yeah,
migratory
migratory
bird,
bird, I guess would. Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, one you pass shoot, one you don't. So, I mean, you could say
Well,
you decoy doves, but I think that's just luck of the draw.
I will say when the Mojos first came out, the Mojo Dove, those
Sure.
things would light right on them. But I've read some articles where guys are talking about walking up on doves, just like and flush them like upland hunting, and I'm like, man, any dove I've ever walked up on has never let me get close enough to get a shot off on them, at
Hmm.
least when I'm hunting them. So, but yeah, I mean, I still enjoy duck hunting. Don't get me wrong. But I don't feel as bad if I don't shoot anything. Like at least
Hmm.
if I'm grouse hunting, I don't shoot anything. At least the dog got some exercise and got to run around, versus duck hunting where he's just sitting there in a blind, bored. So
Hmm.
I don't feel as bad.
Yeah, totally, totally. I hear that for sure. I think it's good. I realized with my young wire hair that duck hunting is good for instilling patience. Um, and I did not do that with my short hair. So, she is not the most, she's a terrible waterfowl dog. Loves the water, loves to retrieve.
Right.
Is a terrible sit still and wait for ducks dog. Uh,
Yeah. Traveler got ruined, or almost got ruined. I guess the first year I took him out to North Dakota. He was pretty good about being patient in the blind. Then I took him out to North Dakota for, I think that first year I took him out for the whole month. I did 2 weeks of duck hunting and then, well, 3 weeks. I did 2 weeks of duck hunting and a week of pheasant.
mhm.
And that first duck hunt in Virginia when we got back, we didn't see a bird. He got spoiled in North Dakota seeing there's hundreds of birds. There's anywhere between 6 and 9 of us hunting a day, and most days getting our limit within 2 hours or so. And
Mhm.
he got a little spoiled. So that first couple duck hunts in Virginia was pretty rough with him being like, dude, what the hell? Like I thought you were
Yeah,
supposed to shoot stuff out here.
what are we doing here?
So,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've never done one of those, um, sort of prairie pothole region hunts, but this year, the guys that I go to South Dakota with, where we go, we have like always just been covered in ducks.
hmm
But South Carolina or South Dakota, the lottery.
Yeah, right.
Um, and so one of them who truly loves waterfowl was like, we should put him for the lottery. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And in my brain, I'm like, good luck, right? Well, sure enough, we drew.
Nice.
So,
Yes. That's awesome.
so I think that our pheasant trip is going to be a little bit more waterfowl focused
hmm
this year. But I'm not. I'm hopeful that the amount of ducks that are around, rival our years past because, like I
Yeah.
said, we would just be like covered in them. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's special out there, and I think the year before we went for like the group of us went, two of our friends went out there to North Dakota, and I think he towed his boat along and all that stuff, and he was like, "Man, I look like such an idiot out here with a boat. Like, you just need some decoys and some field decoys and out there, and it doesn't take a whole lot to go get in some ducks up that way, especially compared to Virginia. I mean, a bad year out west is way better than a good year on Atlantic
yeah,
Flyway most parts. So
yeah,
yeah,
then shoot two wood ducks all season.
right, exactly. So
Yeah,
it's yeah, that'll be fun then. Yeah,
nice.
especially if you get into them.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Did you do any woodcock hunting when you were still out east?
Um, I was an opportunistic woodcock hunter.
Okay.
Growing up, I remember, especially if I was hunting like dove hunting some of the swamps or duck hunting some of the swamps, they scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what they were, and then eventually as
hmm
I got older, I figured out what they were. So never actually targeted them until I was older. I'd say a couple years before I moved up this way, I started, especially when I got more in upland with Traveler, then we would start going after them. And we get a decent woodcock flight. Nothing I don't think, doesn't compare to Michigan, but it's pretty good. Again, it's another opportunity. Or if the weather's not right and, we don't have any ducks coming down, I can take him or, as has been known in Virginia when it's in, November and it's 60, 70 degrees out, go take him for a walk in the swamp and see what we can find.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
different
got into
beast.
him a little bit.
So how so that's a good transition because this 70-degree weather in November doesn't happen in Michigan.
Right.
How has that transition been?
Um, See, and maybe it's from my time at the Citadel, my time in the Army is, at least at the Citadel especially, you could always add on clothes to the uniform. So for instance, if they said you have to wear your field jacket, you couldn't take the field jacket off, but you could
hmm
always put on an overcoat. Well, I run hot. I sweat to death constantly. So I love Charleston, but I hate Charleston when I had to be in a uniform because I'd wake
Mm.
up and just start sweating. I mean, just constantly. So moving up here to Michigan, um, I see these reels of people that were like, it's not the cold, it's the wind, but it is true. It's 100% true. You could have a 30-degree day up here. As long as the wind's not blowing, it's not bad. And where we're at in Michigan, we get kind of protected because we're right in that pocket by Lake Huron and Saginaw Bay, to where an hour north of us can be, they might get a foot or two of snow. Hour west of us gets a foot or two of snow, and we might get maybe 6 inches,
hmm
or maybe 4 inches. So we're a little bit more protected. Um, my wife, I think I told you, she's from the Outer Banks of North Carolina, never really had to deal with snow.
hmm
And she was like, I hope it snows, I hope it snows, and then it snowed, and um, I think we got like 3 inches. And I was at work, or no, she was like, "You're going to work?" I was like, "Yeah." Like she was like, "It snowed." I said, "Maybe it's only 3 inches. Like we're in Michigan now.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter." And so I said, "You going? You
That's
going anywhere?"
irrelevant.
Yeah. She was like, "I'm not going anywhere today. It snowed." And I was like, "Babe, you gotta like, recalibrate your measurements of what we can drive in now." But no, it's been a good transition. The hunting opportunities are pretty I don't know, a step above what I had in Virginia, especially as
Sure.
far as just public land.
Hmm.
You get up about an hour north of me, and there's just state game lands all over the place. Whereas in Virginia, there's a ton of competition for a little bit of land. And not saying that the hunting's always going to be dynamite, but at least I have an opportunity to go and not step on top of somebody. So yeah, it's been a fun transition. I can get out, maybe do an hour to a grouse hunt before work.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so take advantage of that, and then especially now with the young pup, get her out more often. So yeah, it's been enjoyable for sure. Like I said, I think I was telling you, everyone up here is super nice. They just talk kind of weird, so it's like good Southern folk. They just, and the only problem is I told someone else this, they don't have grits. I have one
Oh,
restaurant near me that has grits, so and Crackle Barrel doesn't count.
that's
So
fair.
yeah, that's one thing we got to fix is get someone that knows how to cook some real grits.
I feel like there's a market opportunity there for you.
There could be like, you have those like waffle trucks. You could
Yeah.
have like a grits truck and just
Yep.
put stuff in it and it'd be all right. So
I feel like though in the Midwest, like you need to put like Midwestern meats in it or something,
put some like
because like
Polish sausage.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Some
That's
some
that's where my mind
bratwurst.
went
Yeah.
too.
Some
Like
cheese
grits and
brats.
kielbasa, cheese
There you
brat.
go. Yeah, yeah. That might be onto something there.
Yeah, perfect. There we go. You can fund all our bird hunting opportunities.
That's right.
Yeah, that's got to be a different acclimation. I appreciate what you said about the snow. Like I don't, it is, and the whole, I can always put more gear on. I'm the same way. Like
Hmm.
this year, I don't know about how it was in Michigan, but here in Minnesota, it was like very cold, and then all of a sudden it was 80
Yeah.
and
Yep.
90, and it was like, where was like kind of like rainy 65 or
Yeah.
rainy 50, or it was
That's
just
what
like
we've
was.
been here for the last month. I think
Hmm.
we've gotten rain every week, and
Wow.
it's damn near rained every day for the last. I mean, not a ton, but I'd say past 4 or 5 days. It's been raining because every day I want to go train tour, and I'm like, oh well, it's pouring down rain, can't go
Nope,
now.
can't
So
do that.
yeah,
Nope. But I'm with you, as long as it's not 100 and humid. Like I am
yeah, yeah.
I like to joke that I have like seasonal depression in reverse, and that like August is
That's
the
yeah,
worst for me because I'm
yep.
like, it's 100 degrees, it's humid no matter where you go, and it's just gross.
The
Like this
worst
is
is
terrible.
like I remember growing up, or I remember being at the beach one time and woke up. I slept on the couch or whatever. Woke up and we had um, the it was just the glass door that was, that I could see the other door was open. And I just woke up and I just saw all the humidity on the door and I just went, oh dear God. I was like, this is just going to be nasty. My wife is in Key Largo right now on a family trip with her family. And she was like, yeah, it's beautiful down here, but you would die. I was like, yeah, no, I can't survive that.
Yep, I'm
So,
happy that I'm home in Michigan, honey.
great.
Love you.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah,
Enjoy it. But yeah, I'm good with 60s right now.
that's funny. All right, so what made you switch from Boykin to a pointing dog?
Um, that's a good question. Before I got Traveler, I kind of flirted with maybe going a different route, just something different. And then ultimately just decided to get another Boykin, and I'm glad I did. He's turned out real well. Um, but I think part of it had to do with living up here, and obviously doing more grouse hunting, um, especially the first 2 years. So I've been up here for 4 years now. Yeah, yeah, 4 years. And the first 2 years of grouse hunting with Traveler, I felt terrible because, with him being a flusher, he relies on me to take him where the birds are. And I had no idea what the hell I was looking for. So I think the first year or two, we flushed maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 birds the whole season. Because, I just didn't know what I was looking for. And so, Cooper was getting up in age. He lived to be 15, so he had a good run. Um, but I wanted something that, I wouldn't feel as bad taking to grouse hunting, and I could rely on them a little bit more to bring me to the birds. I just got to bring the right area, I guess is the best way to phrase it. Just, then you get sucked into some of those videos of just watching a dog on a, dead sprint and they just lock up on point. It's something pretty cool. And I remember I took my father-in-law grouse hunting, and God, I think we did 12 miles that day, maybe 12, 14 miles, and we flushed two. Um, and he was talking to my wife. He goes, "Yeah, honey, he needs a pointing dog. That'd be a lot better if he gets a pointing dog." I was like, "Oh, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Yeah, support my
Yeah.
cause." So,
Yep.
I think it was just the transition into doing more upland. And also just, it's just a different style of hunting. I love hunting with my flushers, and I can kind of generally tell when travelers getting birdie. Um, but there's still, I guess you're kind of like on high alert the whole entire time with a flusher. Because yeah, you can tell their body language, but you can't quite tell like how close they are to the bird, or and when that bird's going to flush up. So, to maybe have a, not to say relaxed hunt, but to not have to be on high alert all the time when I'm
Hmm.
grouse hunting. I can kind of go a little bit slower. And he's good about staying with me, but still, if he gets hot on a scent, then you know sometimes it's hard to rein him in with his excitement levels. So yeah, just a different style of hunting, and try something new. And boy, it's different. It's
Yeah.
different with these dogs for sure. So, yeah, I guess just getting more into grouse hunting would be the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So why you have a wirehaired vizsla?
Yeah.
How old is
Uh-huh.
she now?
Just over a year in, what have been, June, year and 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why wirehaired vizsla?
So that was like a 3-year process of going through different breeds.
Okay.
And we had obviously had to get the seal of approval from my wife. And so I wanted, a pointing breed, but then I also still duck hunt a lot. So I wanted something I could still duck hunt with. So that was leaning more towards the versatile breeds. Um, I love the look of a setter, but I've had my fair share of burrs in hair,
Mm,
with my Boykins. I don't know if you saw my article. I wrote an article with it was a satire sales pitch of it was called Field Aglow, and it was about how you could spray this dog and it would just take burrs right out of their fur, no problem at all. And I thought everyone knew it was satire, but I got so many messages of people going, "Dude, where did you find this? Like, how do you buy this stuff?" And I was like, "No, it's fake." So anybody that has long-haired dogs knows, like, especially down south or even out west, you get in those cocklebur fields, and God,
brutal.
yeah, you're gonna drink 6 beers trying to get those things out all night and cuss a storm and all that stuff. So I didn't want a long coated dog. And then a GSP, at least for what I understood, would maybe not be as good at the later season duck hunting, just because their fur, a little bit shorter, can't handle the cold quite as well. From my reading. And then so I was kind of looking at poodle pointers. I did want like a draught. That was just, I also didn't want a super high energy independent dog.
Hmm.
I'm not used to that from Boykins. Well, Boykins can be stubborn, because some of them have like a lot of chessie in them. Um, but I didn't want a dog that was going to go hunt for itself. Because I knew nothing about bird dogs, nothing about pointing dogs. So I knew that if I had a dog that was way too independent, he's going to run me. I'm not going to run him. Um, there wouldn't be as much for teamwork, I guess, best way to phrase it.
Yeah.
So I knew enough to know that I didn't know what the hell I was getting into. So I didn't want a super high driven, super independent breed. Trying to think what else went into it. Oh, and then the look. My wife had to like how they looked, and I sent her some pictures of Ben's dogs, North Country,
Hmm.
because he takes phenomenal reels of his wire hairs. And she was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "Oh, that's a wire hair vizsla." And she was like, "Okay, I like the look of those." And then we started doing some research into those. And then it's kind of funny. Doing my research, we found that the personality was very similar to a Boykin in that they're kind of goofballs. They're just, yeah, they're big goofballs. They can be somewhat soft sometimes, which I think that probably comes from the Vizsla. Um, which again we're used to with the Boykins because a lot of times they're like I knew some lab trainers way back in the day that wouldn't take a Boykin because Boykins were considered too soft for them.
Mm.
So I was used to that. Then I did read that these are a little bit slower to mature. I was like, okay, well, I'm used to that with a Boykin. So there was a lot of similarities. And then of course we had, I think I contacted you about, what breeders to reach out
Hmm.
to. So then we had to find the right breeder, find the right line. And then last but not least was my wife wanted one that was going to be on the smaller side. Just in case something happened, she had to pick a dog up. She wanted to be able to handle it. And so, yeah, that's how we end up getting, the little pup that we have. I mean, she's tiny. She's only about 42, 44,
Oh,
45
wow.
pounds. Oh, yeah, she's a tiny little thing. Yeah. But which is good because, again, that's what we're used to. So, yeah, it was a lot of, like I said, 3 years of research just, and there were some times where I thought I had the right breed, and I was like, all right, that's what we're going to look at. And then, for some reason, I was like, that doesn't sit well. And so it was a lot of research. And I think it was nice because all my life it's always just been get a Boykin. So it's kind of cool putting myself back in those shoes as far as making sure it's the right decision. And again, you can't plan for everything, and it's not 100% guarantee that, again, that um, it's not guaranteed you're going to get a soft Boykin. You might get one stubborn like him that's, got a lot of chessie in them. But yeah, you can increase the chances as far as doing your research, I guess I
Sure.
should say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was all just a conglomeration of everything. And I think when I first decided I was going to get a pointing breed, I kind of wanted, I want that, fire breathing that's going to go out, find all these birds for me. But then you have to think about out of their life, they're only hunting for what, maybe 20, 30% of their life.
Mm.
The rest of the time they're sitting at home. So you better make sure it's a better pet than it is bird dog. And I think that took into a lot of consideration as well. So yeah, it was a lot of research, a lot of calling, a lot of reaching out to people like you and some other people to kind of get their thoughts. And um, then also we did, I don't know if you know Matt Frank. He lives on the western side of Michigan. He's got two wire-haired vizslas. And so just seeing them in person,
Hmm.
whether it's in the field or just seeing their personality and just saying, all right, yeah, this is the dog. Because I think a lot of times, especially like from my experience in the Boykin world, people see these highlight reels and they're like, oh, that's what I want. And then, or they read one article and they go, oh, that's what I want, instead of actually doing their due diligence of researching just about everything you can. And then
Sure.
seeing them actually in person is a big deal too. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that went into it for sure.
Yeah. No, I respect that a lot. It's your pup is remind me her name.
Tura,
Tura is from
Tanya.
Tanya, right?
Yep.
In Pannonia.
Yep.
That's her kennel name. Yeah.
Yeah. Pannonia
Um,
Kennels out in British Columbia.
yeah. So that makes sense now because I guess the timing is coming back to me because I had her on the podcast about a year ago now.
Yes.
We were judging in Montana together, so yeah, getting to dive
Yeah.
into the breed a bit with her. And I would say you're spot on. I mean, definitely a little bit slower to develop. You have to be a bit more intentional. You can't. And I want to be clear, like there's nothing wrong with that for folks listening, right? Like
Hmm.
there is every dog just kind of develops
Right.
differently, and it really is somewhat dependent on what what your priorities are. But if, like you said, like for focus on something that is maybe a little bit more it's always interesting though. I will own, the more time goes by, the more I don't like um the narrative around like slower developing dogs are the only dogs that are good in the house.
Hmm.
Because I think it's so much of a nurture thing.
Oh yeah.
I
No, I
think
definitely agree with that.
I
Yeah.
think how dogs are in the house is a nurture thing.
Hmm.
I yes, like there is some nature to it, to be sure, but I think by and large, the majority of people who have issues with their dogs settling at home are man-made problems or
Well, I
person-created
think,
problems.
and what I meant by like slowing to mature is again coming from the Boykin and retrieving world,
Hmm.
you'd have a lot of guys that got a Boykin and would compare their 6 month Boykin to a 6 month lab. And there's exceptions, but generally speaking, a 6 month old Boykin can't do quite as much as a 6 month old lab can.
Hmm.
And what I've found is that a lot of guys were rushing the Boykins and either A, getting frustrated or breaking the dog or, causing issues
Mm,
down the line because they were rushing the process. And so, me personally, I would much rather have a happy-go-lucky dog that wants to do what I want it to do because it enjoys it and wants to please me rather than, force breaking or whatnot, like I've seen some guys do. And I think, knowing and I didn't mean slow or mature as far as housebreaking, just the way their brains work and what they can handle. Um, that I was prepared for that because there are some things that she just isn't ready for, and I'm good with that. Like I'm gonna have her for hopefully 10 plus 12 plus years.
sure.
Um, but I think that when I read that, I was okay with it because I said, oh, I'm used to that with my Boykins.
Hmm.
So it's I don't want to put yeah, you want to push the dog and challenge them here and there, but I don't want to
Hmm.
push the dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think about it like how fast do they get to max volume,
Hmm.
right? And there are some of those breeds, Wirehair Vizslas being one, where you got to give them a little bit more time to simmer to
Right.
get to
Yep.
that max
No, I
volume.
agree with that. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, which I think there's actually something to be said for that because depending on the person, that forces you to slow down. Because I think
Hmm.
some of these, like, I think in the quote unquote more faster maturing dogs, like you do see a lot of mistakes because the speed at which a dog matures can sometimes mask um training faults,
Right.
or prompt you to skip steps,
Yep.
and then you've got a whole other set of
Yeah.
problems.
Then it rears its head, later down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I would definitely agree. I think even the first couple because we had to wait 6 months to get her because she was from Canada. And so even in the first 2 months we had her, she wasn't, not to say she was like scared or anything, but she wasn't super bold and confident.
Mm,
And that didn't come out until I'd say a few months later. Even when we're training with the NAVDA chapter, um, I would say within the last 2, 3 months or so. No, probably last 3 months. She's really started to open up her wheels and still branching
hmm.
out. I told you pre-podcast, that's probably also partly my fault a little bit, doing too much obedience and retrieving work. Um, but yeah, it's been cool seeing just there wasn't a whole lot of um, maturation the first couple months that we had her, but then it seems like everything's starting to go now. And yeah, it's been very cool to watch.
Yeah, that is awesome. Did you get to hunt her last season or no?
I took her out for puppy walks.
Hmm.
But yeah, didn't do any real hunting. I did take her to North Dakota just to hang out at camp. And then when we were duck hunting, she'd just stay in the truck in the kennel, and I'd take her out when we pick up decoys, throw some mallards for her. So she got birds in her mouth, but didn't hunt her at all last year. Again, I think part of it too was, I got her. So I got her in October, either late September or early October. I think I had her maybe a few weeks. Took her to grouse camp for a couple days, then left there, went to North Dakota for 2 weeks, and then came back. So she was like straight into camp mode right
Hmm.
away. Thank God she doesn't cry in the kennel because it was a 45-hour drive back from Seattle with her.
Wow.
So that was issue number one. She didn't cry, so thank God. Um, yeah, so I haven't hunted her yet. Obviously gotten her in the fields on birds now. So yeah, it'll be exciting. I think since I was so hesitant as far as not knowing what the hell I was doing with the pointing dog, I didn't want to
Hmm.
rush it at all. So I was kind
Sure.
of taking as many precautions as possible. You always say like, "Oh, I don't want to break the dog." Well, I didn't want to break the dog. Whether I can or can't doesn't matter. I just didn't want to take the risk. So yeah, we went slow.
Okay. Nice. So what is on the docket for you this fall?
Um, Maybe Montana. Um, I was supposed to go, I think September, and then my friend drew a elk tag because he lives out in Bozeman. Drew a tag and said, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna chase that first." So that's kind of put on pause until I figure that out. Um, I probably still go out to the Dakotas again. That's kind of a yearly trip for us. Then um, there's a litter mate of tours in Wisconsin, so I might go out there, which isn't super far. Then I think Kansas in January. Um, and then I might go back to Iowa. I haven't hunted Iowa in a couple years, but we
Hmm.
did pretty well when I did go. So nothing too crazy, but enough to keep us busy.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely keeping you busy. Plus,
Yeah,
grouse and woodcock at home.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I can get in a decent amount of grouse about hour and a half north of me. I don't have to go too
Yeah,
far.
yeah. I mean that's such a game changer. I'm like,
Hmm.
especially what you were saying, coming from the southeast, and now
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I have to drive an hour and I can chase rough grouse. Like, okay.
Well, it's funny too, because to get to where we go, North Dakota, it's about from Virginia, 28 hours.
Mm-hmm.
From here, it's about 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh shoot, I technically I could take a
That's
Friday off
easy.
and do it on a weekend. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's like a weekend trip for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a game changer. But like you said too, just having it right out the back door. I mean, we have pretty good waterfowl around here, and then like I said, I can get into grouse decent amount. Now I kind of have mixed feelings. I've thought about going up CUP to hunt the sharp tails,
Mm,
but I've also heard that those get just pounded.
mm.
Um, so I kind of don't know if I want to. I know they have a season on them. I know obviously they do their studies to make sure that they can still have a season, but I don't know if I'd feel guilty going up there and shooting them or not. I want to, but at the same time, I haven't decided on that one yet.
That's fair. I would say out of the Midwestern states, I feel like Michigan's is the most stable. I
Hmm.
could be totally
Okay,
talking out of left field. Um, but I feel like Minnesota is very up and down. I feel like Wisconsin's very, very up and down.
gotcha.
That said, I mean, no matter what, it's a smaller population, so
Right, right.
it's that's that like what comes to mind when I hear you say that is how I felt about hunting grouse in the Southern Apps. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm way more excited about seeing one than I am about shooting one, and I killed one when I was there, and I was like, I don't know that I need to do more of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We went to Wyoming a couple years ago and did sage grouse hunting, and that's kind of how we felt.
same.
I think we were supposed to stay 5 days, and we ended up. I think we did. I know we didn't do the whole trip. Maybe we did three or four. And there was cool. It was awesome. But we were like, all right, we got our fill. We're good. Like it was
Yeah.
fun. Let's not go crush them. So
Why? Yeah. Why keep hammering on them? Yeah, I definitely identify with that. Before we get to wrap up questions, tell me about your writing. Like, how did you get into doing upland writing?
uh, bourbon. Um, that's yeah. So I've always been a big reader. My mom's well, she was a teacher, and growing up, she didn't care what we read as long as we were reading. So it's either
Okay.
sports books or Sports Illustrated, Outdoor Life, and stuff like that. And then my dad is also an avid reader and had all the old Nash Buckingham books, the Gene Hill books, and so I kind of grew up reading those. And I remember I was on a flight, again, pretty heavily bourbon induced, and wrote an article about hunting with dad, and how his boat didn't, the boat wouldn't start up, and we were pushing it back to the boat ramp, and I noticed that the boat got really heavy. I was on the front of the bow pooling in the water, and dad was supposed to be pushing from the stern, and the boat got super heavy. I remember I looked behind me and dad was, hunched over at the stern, just snoring, just taking a nap, and I was just dragging him and the boat through the pluff mud. And so just that was my first, quote unquote published story, and it was in the Boykin Spaniel Society magazine. And then I don't know, fast forward a couple months, and it was when Hunting Dog Confidential had first come out, and I was kind of giving Jen a hard time because they didn't talk about Boykins. And so she said, well, write an article on Boykins. And I was like, I'm not a writer. And she was like, I saw you wrote an article a couple months ago. Like, just write it. And I said, okay. So that was my first introduction to, like, I guess, quote unquote real writing.
Hmm.
I mean, she must have sent between her and Craig sent me the edit back probably 4 or 5 times. Just kept saying, more dog or do this or do that, and it was a great experience. I mean, I was so ignorant back then that when they sent me the contract, my first thought was I have to pay to get my article in here, and then I was like, oh wait, no, they're paying me. I was like, okay, this is cool.
Yes.
So, um, so yeah, that just kind of delved into um, again back then, and this has been I guess 5 years, yeah, 5 or 6 years ago. I would, the old saying of write drunk, edit sober was kind of my mentality, um, which doesn't do well for the liver or the health. So I had to figure out ways to write sober and edit sober. But I think in the last 5 years, I've tried to grow as a writer and be more intentional in the actual words that like now I go back and I reread, my Gene Hill books because he's my favorite writer and just look at the way that he constructs a sentence and what your words he uses.
Mm,
And so I've tried to kind of replicate that in my own writing and just be very cognizant of what words I'm using and be real selective to try to because I remember like I'm not good at doing to telling a story about one of our trips because that just comes out like a after action report. It's very bland. Like that's just not
sure.
me. I'm not good at that. I'm good at writing funny stories or things about my dogs, things that I'm actually passionate about. And I'm not a super emotional person. But when it comes to my dogs, I'm extremely emotional. So, like when Cooper passed last year, writing a couple articles on him, that was very therapeutic for me to get that out. Um, so yeah, it's been fun, especially talking to other writers. Sometimes if I'm kind of stumbling on thinking of a story throughout the conversation, I might say something. They'll go, "Well, that's a story right there," and I go, "What?" And they go, "Oh, well, if you write about this, that's an angle." And so it's kind of been interesting to find like stories within the other stories or stories within a trip. Or yeah, so it's plus it's just cool to network and just meet a lot of cool folks. And that's led me into doing a little bit more photography. Not that I'm good at it by all means, but what I learned too is you can have a pretty good story, but if you didn't have photos, a lot of times it didn't get published. So I had to start learning how to take pictures and stuff like that. So it's kind of grown, but yeah, I definitely enjoy it. And now, I do a lot more outdoor reading too, just because, again, I could read a story that you wrote, and then that will trigger a thought in me about a different hunt that I had. That was,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, now I got a story. So yeah, it's been fun. Meet a lot of cool people that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely broadens the network
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But
What's something that folks that are listening can go find right now that's out?
let's see. So I just did um for there's a little magazine or smaller magazine down in South Carolina. I did kind of like a summer dog training article.
Nice.
Nothing too advanced because again, I'm not a professional trainer, but just you know, switching away from water work, or switching away from doing as much field work, especially down south where it's, shoot, half your training or most of your training's done by 8 a.m. at this point. So getting into water, and that was another thing too that was different was um getting into the NAVHDA world how many of these dogs sometimes don't like water, which was interesting to me. Um, and so, we take Tura and Tanya did this too when they were puppies. She took them paddleboarding, took them swimming. So just different ways to get the dogs out. And then I'm trying to think. Trying to remember. I got a new piece that should be coming out. It's top 10 ways to sneak more prints in your house. So my wife has always complained that I have way too many prints in the house, and so it was just a humorous article of different ways to sneak them in. But I sent um, a my first draft to my friend Devin, and he was sitting at the bar with his wife reading my first draft, and she saw the headline of the article, and she was like, "I swear to God, are you trying to sneak more prints in the house right now?" And he's like, "No, no, 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 it's Chris sent me an
And he
article."
has a lot, doesn't he?
So yeah, oh, I think he's got a worse problem than I do. I mean, he buys a lot of prints. So yeah, I got that coming out.
That's
Trying to think what
awesome.
else.
That's funny. I was just bumming around a consignment shop yesterday, and they had a couple Terry Redlands on the wall, and I was like, I'm just gonna
It's
not
dangerous, man. You
see
gotta.
those.
When Devin and I drove back from Pheasant Fest, we stopped at an antique store and ended up buying some books and some prints and stuff. So with yeah, our wives have determined that he and I can't be left alone by ourselves, because it's dangerous. We're gonna end up buying, a bunch of decoys and prints and duck calls and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I got a couple other things that should
How
be
many
coming out soon.
how many times have they heard the like, honey, I could have worse habits?
Probably on a daily basis, most likely. It's it's pretty regular. Luckily, I have an office at work that I was able to fill it with a lot of my prints, but that's slowly getting more and more filled. So I
Yep,
need to find another place for them.
that's awesome. Oh, I love that. The hell yeah, sweet. Is that published right now, or you're working on it?
Nope. I just gotta do my last final copy.
Okay.
It's been that should be out, I would imagine, within a month or two.
Okay.
And then Tom Beckby's got two articles of me, but I don't have a timeline for when those are
Gotcha.
coming out. So yeah, I
Yeah.
got a couple things coming out soon.
Nice. So you got to work with Worth on that?
Yeah, yeah. I've When did I meet Worth? The same thing. I think he and I have or technically known each other for a couple years. And yeah, what a great guy. I mean,
Yeah,
wealth of
especially
knowledge and
with your
stuff like that.
the Southern and the military
Hmm.
connections too.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, great, great. I mean, like you said, through the writing, I mean, just through bird hunting alone, you can meet cool people through social media.
Hmm.
But then through the writing, it's like a whole nother level too, because you can bounce ideas off of each other. Yeah, Worth is the first article he took for me. I know how busy, especially these editors are. They're just they get inundated with articles and stuff like that. And
Totally.
um, I send them an article. I say, hey, if you don't have time, don't worry about it. But if you have time, I'd like you to take a look at it, see if you get me any insights or things that you would change. And he read it. And he was like, I mean, if you don't mind, I'd take it for Tom Beckby. And I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of how I got my first one with him. So yeah, he's
That's
a super
awesome.
nice guy, super knowledgeable. He's got some awesome stories too. So yeah, I like
Yeah.
talking to him.
Did uh did he edit it with you over the phone?
No, no, I haven't done
Oh,
that
okay.
yet. Did he do it with
Oh yeah.
you?
Yeah. Which
How'd that go?
I to be honest, I loved like line
Okay.
by line, and I was like,
Oh, that's
this is
awesome.
intense, but
That's very
awesome at the
cool.
same time. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have one thing published with Beckby, and
Okay.
yeah, Worth was great. And that's, I will say, when I wrote it, I knew, I was like, I think the only place that I could put this would be Beckby, and I sent it to him, and he was great about it. But yeah, we like got on the phone and went like
Wow.
line,
Yeah.
which was phenomenal. Like to for
Yeah.
and like you said, they're so busy. Like to take that amount of time.
Well, that's the thing is it's so time intrusive. And I've had a lot of people that contact me and they're like, hey, I want to write an article
Hmm.
and get it published. And when I first started out, I didn't know it either. You just don't know what you don't know. Um, and the time that it takes to even think of the idea, then flesh it out. And the story that you started with is typically not the story that you end with, at least for me. But then you edit it and then you have to submit it. I mean, that's depending on where you're submitting it to. It could be a 6 month process, or even when Upland
Yeah,
Almanac took an article of mine a couple years ago, they had it for a year before it published because
yeah,
they were working so far in advance. So I think a lot of people just don't understand the logistics and nuances of, it's just to write it, it's time consuming, let alone
hmm
to get it published and edited and all that stuff. It's a lot of time.
yeah. I think I would tell you like that timeline is like a barrier to entry for me. I mean, I have
Yeah.
way too many barriers for entry for writing now than I ever did. Um, and part of that is just I just need to make the time. But my I shouldn't say my best, but my better writing generally comes in a moment of catharsis.
Hmm.
And so then for me, I'm like, well, like then what the hell do I like? I've written this thing now. What the hell do I do with it? Um, and then it's like even the piece I wrote for Beckby, because it's about the Masters, and I wrote it Masters weekend. And they didn't publish it for like 6 months, and I was like, "Oh, it's cool. You're like publishing something in August about the Masters, like that.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
I mean, y'all do you, whatever."
Uh-huh.
And that Worth had no say in that. It's whatever their social team decides, right? But I was like, man, I genuinely don't know how, like, for these bigger publications, like you were mentioning, like Upland Almanac and all these other things. Um, they're like, oh, like submit it to publish it next year. I'm like, I don't
Hmm.
think that far ahead. Like,
Yeah.
what do you?
Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. And then, you're talking about patience and kind of some of these slower maturing dogs teaching you patience. So is writing. Because like you
Yeah.
said, I'm all excited to finally have the article done, finally get it accepted. And then like, oh yeah, you got to wait a year to see it in the magazine. It's like, oh, son of a,
Yeah.
so it's definitely teaches, or even to hear back from, I mean, luckily I've developed a relationship with a lot of the editors. Um, At some of these places, yeah, you'll submit an article and you just don't hear anything back for a month, 2 months, and
Yeah.
you're like, all right, do I submit it somewhere else? Do I not?
Yeah.
So yeah, it it definitely taught me patience, that's for sure.
Totally. Yeah, it is. And then the other side of that too, if you're hypercritical like me, you read it 6 months later and you're like, why the hell did I write
Oh,
it like that?
yeah,
Or
no,
what I am very guilty of is I'm like, I didn't write it like that. And then I go
right.
back and like look at my Google Drive and I'm like, oh, I definitely did. Like, oops.
Oops, yeah, uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, I look back
yeah.
at that, or anytime I've been on a podcast, you listen to yourself and like, ooh, I said that? Like, well,
Yeah.
it's out there now. It's
Hmm.
it's out in the interwebs. It's gone. So
Yeah. Oh well. Hopefully in the content machine it rolls over and
that's right.
disappears somewhere.
There you go.
Um, yeah. I definitely. It is hard. It'd be interesting, right? Like we never will, right? But like to talk to like a Nash Buckingham or a Gene Hill or
Hmm.
Burton Spiller and be like, what's the story that you wrote that you don't like?
Mm,
Or like that
that's
you
fair.
wish you
Yeah.
wrote a different way, because it'd be so interesting for all of us that are so enamored with the history of those old stories to know, like, well, what's the one that you didn't like? What was the one where you were like, I would burn that one and not submit
Hmm.
it if I could, or I would have
No, that'd be
written it
super
this way,
interesting. Yeah.
because we all have those. So interesting. I like that tie there. Yeah, that definitely, it definitely teaches you patience. Um, Sweet. Well, I want to be respectful of your day. So we'll move towards wrap up questions. So what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you got started?
Um, Talking into bird dogs.
Yeah.
Um, Oof. All right, so if I'm talking these pointing critters, I wouldn't say I didn't know it. I would say I was reminded that everyone has their opinions on how to train the dog. What's the old saying? You can ask 10 trainers and they all have different opinions or whatever it is. Or you ask
Hmm.
3 trainers and they'll agree that the third guy's wrong or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um,
The only thing that two dog trainers can agree
that's
upon
right.
is what the third one's doing wrong.
Right, right. So, and I've gotten so many text messages and comments, why are you doing this? Or yeah, I'm like, just whatever's we're doing is working decently, so I'm just gonna stick to it. So yeah, I would say that. And then just in general, when I got Cooper, I was younger. I was right out of college. I didn't quite have the funds and stuff to do as many trips as I do now. So when I got Traveler, I never would have imagined that Traveler would take me to all the places that I've been to because of him, or met all these
Mm,
people and obviously got into writing and stuff. I mean, really, it's all because of him. People don't want to hunt with me; they want to hunt with him. And um, so yeah, I never would have imagined that I would be doing all this stuff in the outdoor world because of a dog. I mean, I've always loved dogs, but never all this stuff. I mean, traveling across the U.S. and
yeah.
getting to meet a lot of cool people and stuff. So definitely didn't realize it was going to grow into what it has.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
been
that.
it's been a fun ride. Yeah.
Hell yeah. What's your favorite piece of gear?
Um, hmm, I keep switching my gear. That's my problem. Because I like it all, and then
Hmm.
like for one, I would say my Boyd vest. Since I do so much more grouse hunting, it's a little bit slimmer. And maybe I definitely got this from my dad, an appreciation for more traditional and older things. And so the Boyd vest is a pretty simple strap vest.
But waxed cotton.
With wax cotton, but it does have 2 water bottle pockets. A lot of them didn't have that, and so I definitely wanted that. So a little slimmer, simpler. I'm also guilty of, if I have the room, I'm going to fill the room. So like I have a hunt ready and I love it, and I use that a lot of times when I'm out west pheasant hunting. But I put so much crap in there that I probably don't even need. So slimmer is better for me and just less room. So I'd say the Boyd vest is probably my favorite.
All right. Yeah. I get down with that. There's something to be said for that, especially in the woods. I mean, the more minimalist
Right.
approach
Well, it's
is
just, I
definitely
mean,
better.
when I think grouse hunting, I think a little bit more traditional.
Hmm.
Maybe that, like I said, Burton Spiller, more nostalgic, I guess.
Sure. Totally. Absolutely. That definitely adds a piece of it. That reminds me, I have this idea brewing with some friends. I'll fill you in offline when we stop the recording. I don't quite want to throw it out there
Spill
yet.
the beans yet.
But yeah, it would be good. Lost my train of thought on questions. What so you couldn't have a Boykin anymore, and I mean I know you're on your first wirehaired vizsla, but we're gonna say no more wirehaired vizsla. What type of bird dog are you getting?
Oh, I knew this question was going to come up, and I still couldn't think of an answer. Actually, you know what? I don't know if I want one yet, but I
Okay,
do. I want so bad to hunt over a clumber spaniel.
that's fair. Yeah,
I just want to hunt with one just to
yeah, just
see.
to see it.
I mean, because that's what they do. They just kind of clumber around. They're a little bit
Yeah.
slower, or they're a lot slower. I've seen some videos. Actually, I don't know if I've seen any video. I've seen pictures. I'm like, man, I
Uh-huh.
want to hunt with one of those things. So yeah, that I don't know if I want one, but that's the next dog I want to hunt with. How about
Yeah.
that? I'll say
All
that
right.
much. Yeah.
I'll look because it's a clumber. I'll accept that. For folks that have no idea what a clumber spaniel is, just Google it. It's
Yeah, they're
worthwhile. It'll make you
big
smile.
and they clumber.
Yeah. It
That's what they
looks
do.
like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it looks like a. What's a good way to say this? Like a bulldog
Yes. Yeah.
in a Springer body. Like
Yeah,
a
I was gonna say either like a Springer or even a setter body because they have a tail like a set. Well, I guess Springers have that same tail. So yeah,
yeah,
you're right. They're
but
thick,
thick.
heavy boned like a bulldog, but they're in like a
Yeah,
Springer's body. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
like body size,
yes.
not slim.
No, not at all. No,
Basically, like
they look like a keg, just
yes,
charging
I was
through.
gonna say like 55-gallon drum the size of a Springer,
Right, there you go.
like a bulldog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. Somebody's gonna be listening to this with a clumber or something and just roast us,
Well, I
which
mean,
I'm fine with because
That's why I want to see one. I've never seen
yeah,
one in person.
holler like let's. I want
Yeah.
to see one. Perfect. That's a good. You want to talk about like the flushing version of an ugly dog? I feel like the
Oh, there you go.
clumber would
That would
would
be fit. That would definitely fit for sure.
fit very well. Sweet. So what we'll do Traveler and Tura. What would you put on their nameplate of why somebody shouldn't keep them?
All right, so they go hand in hand. So Traveler he's had a few hernia surgeries. It's not genetic, it's just bad luck. So
Mm-hmm.
he struggles to poop. So
Mm.
sometimes it will take him. We found exercise works. So if he's running a lot, typically that helps things get moving. So he probably actually needs another surgery. Because unfortunately he's been straining because of the hernia that he doesn't have a whole lot of muscle to get it out. But anyway, um, so his thing would be just takes 2 hours to shit because sometimes it does. I mean and he's trying. It's brutal sometimes. You hear him groan, you're like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, he's got stuff in his food, which leads to Tura because she doesn't mess with deer droppings, rabbit, other dogs, but Traveler gets lactulose in his food, and I think it's because of sugar. Tura will try to go eat his shit in a heartbeat. Like
Mm-hmm.
she can smell it, but it's only his. So we've got her finally to leave it, but man, she would find that in a heartbeat. So yeah, I would say one takes 2 hours to shit, and the other one eats his shit.
Well,
So
I
that
mean, that could be an incentive for some. I mean, the like self-cleaning, if you will.
yeah, except she's got it in her beard. You know, that's
Oh
the one
yeah,
thing with the bearded dogs. Well, she's got more of a goatee than a beard, but yeah.
yeah,
So
but she's not slick.
no,
No.
it's weird. She lost, and I don't know enough about them. I need to talk to Tanya. She lost a lot of her wires. Like they're still there, but it's not like floofy. So I don't know if they grow back later or if it's just the summer thing
You
or
talking about in her beard?
well, her beard and her coat. Like it's just not as. I mean, we didn't strip her. She just naturally kind of.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think they definitely evolve a little bit over
Hmm.
time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So and
Yeah.
the beard will come back. The beard typically they kind of wear thin like through hunting season, and if they're
Gotcha.
running uncover a lot, and then they'll
Yeah.
they'll bounce back when they slow
Okay.
down hunting.
Yeah. She used to have a little mohawk that we're hoping comes back because it's pretty sick.
Nice.
Looked like Rufio from Hook,
Okay.
just blonde. Yeah. So
Nice.
this should be your nickname. Yeah.
Excellent. I love it. What's one question you have for me?
Um. Hmm. I should have prepared for this question. So I know your end goal is that you want to, donate some land back, and that
Hmm.
I've heard you say that before. So what's a goal? Maybe not to get to the end goal this year, but what's a goal this year that is, I guess, maybe not a major stepping stone, but like a stepping stone on that path, like or just a
Mm.
major goal for the business for this year.
That's a great question. That is a great question, and it depends. What comes to mind right now is like, how honest do I want to be?
That's fair.
I mean, yeah, I think that like I'll talk like I would say like to be profitable would be
That's
like
that's that's a
you
good
can't give
goal,
any
right?
money away if you don't have any money to give away, candidly.
Right.
And so I think, it has been it's been an interesting almost 3 years now. Um, getting a handle on the business and then getting it to be, you know, uh, what's a good way to say this? I've said this before. I'm just trying to recall it. Like, Ugly Dog is in a place of sustainability, which is great. And I would say it wasn't necessarily before. Um, the challenge that I have now is that the business is sustainable, but like actually living and running the business is not sustainable. So I've got to
Right.
get those two things, and then we can go do all the fun stuff. Um, so yeah, is a big piece of it. I would love to, on in that thread or the vein with which you asked. I think the biggest thing would be once you can nail down the sustainability piece consistently, that opens doors for smaller, just as important and meaningful, but smaller contributions along the way. Um, yeah, that those would be the big things. Whereas right now I feel like it's a bit, um, I'm a bit in like chasing my tail mode, which is getting better, but it's part of like a rebuild is like you kind of got to live in it for a little while. So it's
Right.
starting to come
No.
out of it, but we're definitely still there.
Yeah. No, that tracks and makes sense. I mean, it's only been 3 years. Sounds like a lot of time, but it's not
Yeah,
really.
it
So,
is. It's wild. It is and it isn't. It is in a traditional like business growth path. It isn't. It's not very long at all. And I think as with anything, whether it's like you were talking about with dogs and like maturation and everything, like you definitely have those moonshots in the business world. And I think in popular culture, we're so conditioned to those moonshots that it's hard not to see those and wonder why not. And like from a business model perspective, it's just a different beast. So um, yeah, we'll keep grinding away, but that absolutely does remain the goal. I would love nothing more than to be like, here's X amount of acres. Let's protect it.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be
That'd be
fantastic.
pretty sweet to have like the Ugly Dog WMA.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
You got some more of those bird bags. I got
we do. We do need to sell more bird
yeah,
bags. We
I've
have, for
got
folks
nothing but
listening, they
positive
are in
feed. Yeah,
stock.
I got nothing
So
but positive feedback from them. So,
yeah, I love those things. So this was awesome, man. Anything else before we wrap up?
um, no, no, I think we could go down some rabbit holes on what you and I were discussing the other day about AI, but we can leave that for
Oh,
another
ugh,
time. No,
gross.
yeah, yeah.
I
No, I
think,
appreciate.
yeah, it's the I will own I have very convoluted feels about AI. And I will own that I think there is strong practical application in a number of avenues for it. And any use of it in like art, like
Yep.
any form of art,
Or
like
creative. Yeah.
drives me up a wall.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's like just
Nope.
gross.
I agree. Yeah. Or especially the people that intentionally try to portray it as their creation. Like all you do is type in a prompt. Like, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
It's really
that
interesting. I have a Ugly Dog has a competitor. I won't name names.
hmm
But if you're paying attention, you'll figure it out. That uses AI in that way in a
hmm
lot, particularly in their email marketing.
right.
Um, and I've gotten more and more vocal about it on social media to the point where the other day they finally sent an email with a real photo in it.
Mm,
And I was like,
mm.
and it was a
Yeah.
terrible
Yeah.
photo. Like it was, and I was like, I mean, I appreciate, like, I would rather
Yeah.
you use a
Right.
terrible
Right.
photo than this AI.
It's better than AI. Yeah.
You're posting a dude hugging a short hair, and the ticking on the short hair is, what's the right way to say this? Like, you could tell it was AI because the ticking on the short hair was like so mathematically proportional. Like
It's
I
just
was like,
like
that's
right.
it was very like, like it was repeated. It was a very like
hmm
repeatable pattern because
Right.
there's all these
Right.
things like if you pay
You can
attention
pick
in
up on
AI,
it.
you
Uh-huh.
can really pick up.
Yep.
Or they just, and the funny thing was then like 2 days later they sent another one and it was a pigeon. And you know how when you do um like you see this when it's like like they try to do like the hyper realistic imagery in AI and like
hmm
the eyeballs are super glassy. I was
hmm
like, come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Like,
Or it's got the wrong number of fingers or toes
yeah.
or yeah. It's and I agree with you. I think it there's obviously some sort of purpose there, but it pisses me off when you have outdoor businesses or even nonprofits that are using it. I'm like, well, you're supposed to support the environment
Yeah.
and not use a tool that. And I think what's happening is people are like, oh, well, I only used it for this. I'm like, yeah, but it's 10 million people using it just for this. It's like, yeah, you might have. And so yeah, it's just and then like you said, the people that pass it off as their artwork or so yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I just don't understand why someone that would want to help the environment would use a cheap tool that hurts the environment to at the end supposedly help the environment. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. So yeah.
Yeah. It is. It definitely, we are very much like on the leading edge of like where it's like with anything, right? Like I go back to, um, like the Teddy Roosevelt stuff. I need to, Aaron from NAVDA and I, like, we're trying to work on an article and I'm terrible about making time to lean into this. But there does feel like an element, we can go down this rabbit hole a little bit. Like there is this interesting element for me, like as a historical lens, right? Of like, oil and gas is not good for the environment. Electricity is not good for the environment. Like there's all of these like lithium ion batteries are terrible for the environment, right? Like, so there's all of these things, as is AI and the water use and the land development and all of these types of things. So like where is like the rub, and we're like such
hmm
on the leading edge of it, um that it is hard to know like what's okay and what's not, and like where those lines are. um and for me like my big line in the sand is that creative piece, because what we do know is that like all of that creative is stealing from other people's
Right. It's
creative.
just pulling from other sources, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
um
was I was talking to someone the other day and we are talking about that and I said, and now, even some of my employees, they'll just chat GPT something. I go, that's not right. And they're like, well, that's what chat said. And I was like, we are like 20 years away from being idiocracy. I don't know
yeah.
if you've ever seen that movie, but it's like
Hmm.
we're getting scarily close to that. So, I think, like you said, just to, I was talking to a guy, I think a couple months ago, and he said, asked me one of my goals for the year. And kind of tongue in cheek, I said, I want to be bored more. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, well, when especially when I picked up Tura, I did a 45-minute or 45-hour drive, didn't listen to any podcasts, didn't listen to any radio. It was just me driving. And, at first it was like, oh, I'll just have some quiet. And then it just kept extending, extending. And I thought of so many different ideas and
Yeah.
story ideas. And, we're taking in so much information nowadays that it's like we don't have don't give our brains a chance to soak it all in and then come up with our own thoughts. And
Totally.
I think that's where kind of AI is playing into it too, where now you don't even create something yourself. You can't, you know, type something up and then put it on paper, or write something up and put it on paper. And I don't know exactly where I'm going with this thought process, but yeah, I just feel like people need to take a step back and just, think for yourself. I mean, I'm not a great writer. It took me a long time to even come up with a story. And then I edit it a lot. And I think people just want this finished, almost like bird dogs nowadays. People want a finished bird
Sure.
dog by a year or two because of social media and the pressure they put on themselves. And so, everyone's so worried about being perfect or looking good, instead of just doing the work to do it and get better at it. So
Hmm.
it's almost like what was that thing back in the day? Game Genie back in the Nintendo, where you could plug it in. You had all the cheat codes for the
Oh
game. Yeah, see, that's a
yeah.
solid reference right
Oh,
there. Yeah.
that's a money reference. Well played.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a Game Genie now. It's
Yeah.
everyone's getting a cheat code. So
Well, and the thing is, like, to land that plane, having been a video gamer back in the day, like, the game becomes way less fun.
uh-huh.
Like,
You
over
might win,
time,
but
right?
it's
Like, in the
it's right.
moment, like,
Yep.
when you do it, you're like, this is amazing. Like, I can run around and
Mm-hmm.
nobody can kill me and all that, like,
Right.
whatever, right? Then 20 minutes later, you're like, okay,
Yeah, that was
like,
it. Right. Mm-hmm.
right? It's the whole, like, why do you like bird hunting? I'm like, because it's hard.
It's hard. Right.
It's
Right.
brutally hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is. It's why I don't love, like, people posting limit photos, because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
somebody is getting in their mind that, like, the only version of success is when you do that, and really it's more like your hunts, like, you going back to something that you shared, your hunts are way better now because you went on a 14-mile walk and moved two birds.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
100%. Right.
that,
Right.
having that experience directly impacts the joy you feel
And the
when a hunt looks different.
appreciation. Yeah,
Hmm.
100%. No, I
Yeah.
agree with that. The hard work
So
leads to more appreciation. Right.
totally. Absolutely. So, dude, this was awesome. We will have
Yeah,
to do it again. Thank
for
you
sure.
so much for hopping on and being my first digital guest.
Yeah, hopefully the audio comes out well. So we'll see, I guess, right?
We'll figure it out one way or another.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.